Well, hey everybody, hope you're enjoying your evening. Please let me know right away if there are any issues with the audio. I have reset the system several times, restarted my computer. The chat room is now open, by the way, so please let me know if are there any latency issues with that. And hopefully everything is working fine. So that would be good if you could let me know. Where is that? Where's my restore chat? There we go. And what else do I need to tell you? Hey, look, it's beer o'clock. I'm glad you're with me. I hope you're having a nice cold beverage. And I think that, okay, it looks good. All right, it's coming in slowly. Hopefully you're having a nice cold beverage if you're done driving for the day. All right, somebody's saying it'd be fun to ask people to send their questions in short videos. Well, yeah, you could do that. I've asked people to send in pictures of their cars. If you want to take your smartphone and send me a short video, that would be good too. We can do that through my email, which is zach@motormouth.ca. That's zach@motormouth.ca. And get your questions to me either, either send pictures of your cars or those videos. Okay. All right, we have a chance now to actually go through those pictures and see what we got here. This is Mike Wan from Vancouver. I'm guessing Vancouver based on the house in the background. Looks like a Vancouver special. With his 2001 Prelude. These are great cars. It still is a great car. He's been driving it daily since 2003. And he said, yeah, they don't make them like that anymore. And it's true. That was a great era. Now think about Honda. They had the Del Sol. They had all of these different cars that they sold, and they just don't sell them anymore. I like the name. This is a good name. Wee Furry Sporin from St. Thomas, Ontario. On the left is the vehicle that left. That's the Mazda CX-5 and replaced with an F-Pace. That's a nice upgrade. Good for you with the 30T. Then we have Dave Rivet from White Rock with his grandson in his 2017 Boxster. Looks like it's Carrera White. Nice combo. Next up, we have Howard. We've had Howard's Golf R, the blue one there on the left, and here's some of his other cars as well that he's had over the years. Looks like a GTI. Not sure what the one on the right is. Is that just the second picture of the Golf R? Anyway, he's gone from BMW to Volkswagen and seems to quite like it. This is a great picture. This is Cavi from Edmonton. Acura TL, Acura MDX. His son's got a a nice cool looking Mercedes-Benz ride along there. I think it's called an X. On his bike, there's the son and his Kawasaki Boulevard. Nice looking bike. That's a nice bike in the middle. That's a nice looking garage. Good to have your son on. Next up, we have Stephen Clinton with his 2016 GLA 45 AMG, and he asked me, are we neighbors? Do you live on the west side of Vancouver? I do. I'm not sure exactly where you are, but yeah, I live on the west side of Vancouver. Next up, from Colorado, Morgan sent this in with his Wrapped, a nice matte yellow, a 991. That's a Carrera S with a matte yellow wrap. That's nice. That looks really good. You know, wrapping's a good way to go if say you couldn't find the right color car, you wanted a black car, and you couldn't find a black car or so on, you could always wrap it. Next up is Saeed with his 2014 C63 AMG 507 edition. That's a sweet looking ride. Not many of those on the road, that's for sure. Next up is Danielle from Rimouski, Quebec with his Highline Sport Wagon. That's a nice looking vehicle with the black wheels. And Rimouski, I know the name because I've heard about the hockey team. All right, so those are some of the pictures we got. So if you want to send a picture, zach@motormouth.ca, Z-A-C-K, not Z-A-C-H, at motormouth.ca, and it's Z-A-C-K if you need me to speak American for you. All right, let's get into the question and answer. Somebody sent a message on YouTube today saying they tried to use the promo code Motormouth for Car Cost Canada, and it didn't work for them. So I sent an email off to Jim Matthews from Car Cost Canada, and he confirms, yes, the promo code is working. So if you do have an issue and you can't type in Motormouth promo code, they have a customer support number. Just call them and they'll hook you up, okay? Huge Haggis is here. Nice to see you. Nate, hopefully you're enjoying your drink. And Furry Sporin is the fellow from St. Thomas, Ontario. And a sporin is part of the school Scottish thing, is the thing they wear over the kilt. That's a sporin. It's made with seal fur, from what I understand. Hey, Zach, hope you're doing well. No issues with the audio. That's good to see. Hi from New Westminster. Awesome weather. Man, I have a friend of mine, Malcolm Sinclair, who I went to broadcast school with years ago. He lives in Ajax, I believe it is, east of Toronto, or the eastern end of Toronto. And he said the furnace came on and cold blast of weather for the eastern part of the continent. And here on the West Coast, it's going to be sunny and hot. We have a 100-year-old house. So we have one of those window air conditioners upstairs where our bedrooms are, because it gets hot up there because it's a 100-year-old house. So I pulled it out of the garage today. That's how good the weather is going to be. Hey, Zach, no questions today. Just going to sip my beer and watch the show. Great work. Keep bringing Canadian car fans together. Well, I'm glad that you're here. Glady02, my dad had an 09 E-Class and a friend had a 14 C-Class. Both held up to about 100,000 miles without any major repairs. German cars before the electric gizmos can hold up after all. You know what? I had older BMWs, and they were expensive to keep running, but they just ran. I mean, they will run indefinitely if you maintain them properly. The interesting thing is my dad had an Acura Legend, and the electronics on that were really expensive to repair. And the thing is, his car had about the same mileage as my old 5 Series. And when you got in them, there was no comparison. I thought the 5 Series held up better. When my wife is in the passenger seat, she can't put in the new address in the nav. Well, car has to be in park. The airbag senses she's there. Why can't you use nav? Because it doesn't know if you are the passenger or the driver. And it's got nothing to do with the seat belt. It's the seat belt can tell it's plugged in. It's not the airbag. There is a sensor under the seat. That's why when you put something heavy in the seat, sometimes the seatbelt warning can come on. So what it's doing is it wants you to be in park, because it doesn't know if it's your wife in the passenger seat or you that are just trying to input the address. This is often the case if you're trying to use Bluetooth and pair your phone while you're driving. So it's just a safety feature. Pull over, park the car, input the navigation, or connect your Bluetooth. And that's why probably the car has a talk to text sort of function on the steering wheel. There's a little microphone thing. You can actually input it using your voice. What do you think about the new 2021 Kia Sorento? Do you think they will keep the V6 in North America? Sorrento's interesting because it's not like the Santa Fe. The Santa Fe, I don't really know too much about the 2021 Sorento, but I can tell you that Sorrento's always been a tweener, in between sizes, where Santa Fe, they had the Sport, then they had the XL, and then they got rid of the XL, and now they have Palisade, where the Sorento was in between those. It was a little bit bigger than Santa Fe, smaller than Santa Fe XL, so I have to do more research on that. I apologize. Eric's here. Hey, Eric, good to see you. Eric sent a picture in a few shows ago from Montreal. Why are leases so high on cars that have amazing residual value? Jeep Wrangler, Toyota 4Runner, do the dealers mark down the residual value on purpose? Why are leases so high on cars? I'm not sure if you're talking about the lease rate. It might just be a function that if the vehicle is particularly popular, they don't need to discount the leases. And that's one way that they can gin sales, is by having a low interest rate. I would suspect as we get going through the COVID-19 recovery, that interest rates are going to be down near zero for most vehicles, just because of the fact that money is so cheap to borrow by these big companies, and they have to get the economy moving and get people to buy again. Oh, a little side note. I just got some information from Cox Automotive. They own Auto Trader, and sent out a note in the Canadian market. I'm not sure about in the United States. The prices of used cars in the first quarter, so the very last 2 weeks of that first quarter was affected by COVID-19. Sales of used cars at the auction was actually up a little bit, marginally. So it's going to be interesting to see how that holds out as we get going here. But I think it's probably just got to do with the fact that they know they have a hot vehicle. They don't need to discount the interest rate in order to do that. Sorry, my thing jumped on me here. Would you buy a used X5 diesel from the US? Well, the thing is, you're really got your hands tied. You can't see, touch, and find the vehicle out. What I would do is, if I was going to do this, if that was an option for you, first of all, you have to find out what modifications need to be done to the vehicle in order to roll it across the border. Now, you can use the services of a broker at the border, but you can, I'm trying to remember the name of the website. There is a website in Canada that you have to look up if any modifications, physical modifications, need to be done to the vehicle in order for it to cross the border. I would then look for a vehicle, especially at a dealer in the US, because then you have some recourse. Also, you can have an inspection done on the vehicle, get that dealer to get an inspection done at another dealership, and they would be probably much more open to having the vehicle shipped to the border and all those sorts of things. So you have to do your research and find out whether it checks out. And there are companies that will go and do inspections for you of the vehicle. You can hire somebody to go and take pictures of the car, do an inspection report, basically your eyes and ears to go and look at the car. So yeah, it can be done, but a lot more work. Hey Zach, I complained about my 17 Honda CR-V the other day. Now all the safety features don't work, even the e-brake. Honda said it's an electrical, fed up. Well, keep on them. I mean, that's not an old vehicle. That's just 2-3-year-old vehicle. It's interesting, I have neighbor down the road. How old is their van, their Odyssey? They just got rid of it. Maybe 4 years old. Honda Odyssey, full load, touring, the whole thing. They got rid of it. They said that they had too many problems, and they've owned Hondas forever, and they bought a Volvo. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say other than it could be your voltage. Sometimes when the voltage is down, if you're not driving a lot, I'm not sure the case for you. If the voltage is not regular, a lot of electrical gremlins can pop up. So that's something to find out. But keep on your dealer, keep complaining. The safety issue is really a big problem. You can also open a complaint with Honda Canada, call their customer service number. It's probably a good idea to get that going. And then the other thing is, what you probably don't understand is there's a technical advisor for like a group of dealers. Say we'll pick a province, the province of Ontario, for example. There'll be a specialist that goes to different dealers to troubleshoot hard cars to fix, okay? So you can ask your service advisor, hey, when is your regional service advisor coming to, tackle these harder to fix cars? And you can ask that person to look at your car, all right? Microwave 99, I love your show in Ontario. News item this week, Hertz Avis and other rental cars dumping inventory. This will crush used car prices. Manufacturers will have to eat residual values. Yeah, it's probably a much bigger issue in the US than it is here in Canada. But yeah, and it's also going to impact car sales because a lot of vehicles are dumped into a rental fleet when they want to move them. So a car company has too many of something, they'll dump them into a car fleet. I'm not sure this is going to last forever. I think that, eventually people will be traveling again. Eventually people will need to rent cars. But I would say until we are fully embracing some kind of, vaccine for COVID-19, it's not going to be good to be in the rental car space, Airbnb, hotels, or airlines. It's just part of the whole ecosphere of, salespeople going to another city and making sales calls and renting a car. I just don't see how it's going to change. What could happen, though, is that people might actually start to buy cars. They don't want to be on transit. It's going to be interesting to watch used car prices. How has Lexus sales been the last few years? I feel like I haven't heard anything new from them in years apart from the LC500, and their lineup seems stagnant. Yeah, but the thing is, you got to remember that Lexus, like Toyota, is just a blue chip stock. People buy into the idea of owning a Lexus. These vehicles just work, and people buy them because they know that the vehicle is going to work. So yeah, you don't have to be the sleekest and the sexiest. You just have to deliver the goods every single day. So someone that puts their money into purchasing or leasing a Lexus knows at the end of that lease, or whenever they're ever going to trade it in, it's actually going to hold its value. So that's what happens when you build such a powerful brand. Now, I would say that's not entirely true. There have been incremental changes to vehicles like the RX and the NX. I'm getting the RX in a few weeks. I'm also getting the IS in a few weeks, and I haven't driven one of those in a long time. And I always sort of haven't done it because there wasn't really anything new, but because we're limited on cars here, it will be fun to get it back again. And it is a 350, so that should be good. What else can I say about Lexus? What other new vehicles have they got? Yeah, you're kind of right. Not a lot new there. All right, so we have over 100 people on board. We have 35 likes, so smash the like button if you could. Help the old Zach man out. It certainly helps. And if you want to get your pictures through to me for future shows, I'll show the pictures again in a moment. We can do that. Send them to zach@motormouth.ca. Okay. There are cars companies like Mini and Alpha with worse sales than Infiniti or Mazda. Why so many questions about Infiniti collapsing when other sales numbers are worse? Yeah, the issue is with this is that it's not just Infiniti, it's the parent company, Nissan, is also suffering. Sales are down. So they have the 1-2 punch of Infiniti being down and the parent company sales are being down. So it's like a perfect storm. Yeah, you could say Alpha sales are down, but the thing is, how many Ram pickup trucks do they sell? A lot. So that's the bigger question. All right, we have our first super chat here. Hey, Zach, I hate beards too. So I tried the beard thing for about 6 days, and then I just was like, oh, I couldn't stand it. I don't think I look good in it. Anyway, thoughts on Merc ditching the V8 on the next-gen C-Class AMG? Yes, I know they're making cars for governments, but that's stupid. Well, they're the only ones sort of doing it now, and that's the thing is when your main competitors, I don't know if that's confirmed. If you know that, you're more up to date than me. But if that is the case, their direct competitors are not doing that. And you can produce pretty amazing cars with turbocharged 6-cylinder engines. And the other thing is that they too have inline 6-cylinder technology. Back again, Mercedes-Benz with that. So I could see them doing a high output inline 6-cylinder, just like BMW does with the M3, to be real head-to-head competitors. Plus, to be lighter, it'd probably be better overall. But I hear you, it's not the same. And I think that maybe it's because they don't need to be that different. That's why when you get behind the wheel of a car like a Mustang GT with 460 horsepower, I believe it is now, from a V8 engine, it's like nothing like that. And I agree with you. They don't need to, but it would be cool if they could. GLE 350 or GLC 300? Well, you have to decide what size you need. One is a mid-size utility and one is a compact utility. How much space do you need? If it's just moving 5 people or 2 rows and you don't need that 3rd row, then you're spending a lot more money. The other thing is both of them have turbo 4-cylinder engines. The GLE 350 was surprisingly good though. So if you don't need all that space, save the money and get the GLC. Hey Zach, I had to extend my lease for 3 months due to COVID. I'm looking to lease a Tucson or Kona 2020. I'm a big guy, 6 foot, 260 pounds. Is the Kona feasible car? Looking for comfort, low payment is a must. Well, really, the only thing is, Javier, is that you have to go and try it out. I'm 6 feet tall, but I'm not 260 pounds. So you got to get in there and give it a shot, and see what you can, see what you think about it. And the good news is dealers are open in British Columbia, so you can go and set up a chance to get in it. It really comes down to trial and error to see where you fit. And that's one of the things I say to people is, you got to get in and out of cars. You got to try them out, because if something isn't the right fit for you, it's not going to change. If something bugs you about a car, it's not going to go away. So you really have to do your homework. You might want to try the Kia Soul with a little bit of a higher roofline. Might be something worth a shot. Keith says, hey Zach, first time on the live show, looking to buy base Panamera, 16 or 17 pre-owned. Please advise, thanks, from Burlington. Well, that's a fantastic car. I wouldn't suggest Panamera base model. I'm trying to remember now. I'm going to have to look up what year. I'm going to see here, 2017 Panamera, and see which model that was. Is that the older one or the new one? I'm trying to remember what year it switched. If you can get the new one, the newer body style would be definitely advantageous. If you get the older one, I wouldn't go for the base engine. I would go up from that if you could possibly get it. The number one thing with these things is you really do need to get them inspected and checked by somebody who knows about Porsches. I think it's a wonderful car. I'm just trying to remember, what year was it? I think that's the older body style. So yeah, don't get the Panamera. You need to go up to the Panamera S. Okay, the Panamera had the VR6 engine, the old engine, and really not up to the job, in my opinion, for that car. So that's what I would suggest. What's your favorite airline? Well, I used to fly, I almost fell into that trap. I used to fly a lot, between 200 and 300,000 miles. And most of the times when I'm flying, it is with Air Canada, because that's our flag flying national airline, member of the Star Alliance. And then often when it's not Air Canada, it's Lufthansa, because they're partners. And a lot of the trips I do are to Europe. So from Vancouver, where I live, there's great flights to Munich and Frankfurt. So often it ends up being Lufthansa. So I don't get a chance to fly the Asian airlines, except for ANA, and because that is another Star Alliance partner. So ANA, I flew to Japan a few times, and I thought they were fantastic. But I do like Air Canada. I think for a big flag flying airline, they do a really good job. I think that Lufthansa's business class is more comfortable. And I think that of non-Star Alliance, I like KLM. Out of US airlines, the only one I think is any good is Delta. Love the Cayman GTS you reviewed in 2015. How far off is a Cayman S from the same year? What's the poor man's alternative to the GTS? I don't think that they're much, really. I mean, the GTS and the Cayman S came down to mostly weight savings. And I think I even said in that review, a lot of it was negated if you got PDK transmission. The difference mostly is weight. So if you can get a Cayman and buy a manual, you're pretty much all the way there. There wasn't much in it in the way of horsepower. It was very little. It comes down to suspension, really, between the two different cars. But the Cayman S, especially from 2015, is a fantastic car. That is what's going to be in my future. If I'm going to buy another sports car, it's not going to be a Cayman, it'll be a Boxster S from that same era, 2013 to 2016, the last of the flat six engines. Get the S, not the base model, and if you need a PDK, go for it. But yeah, I even remember when I did the review, I said I was wondering, most of the weight savings were in the wheels, and it's unsprung weight. Nikki says, hey Zach, big fan of your reviews. I watched them with my mom too. Well, there you go. I just had a quick question. I'm a UBC student and commute all the way from White Rock. What's a good, small, compact, or crossover car? Well, you know what? You're coming down the highway every single day and you want to be safe, of course. You want to have the latest safety features in the car. But you also know that you can get it stuck in traffic a lot, especially going through the tunnel and then going along Marine Drive. So what I would suggest is, you know, it sounds cliche to say, but you really can't go wrong as a student with like a Civic or a Corolla. Not exciting, but just good cars. Come with all the safety features, comfortable, going to have a good infotainment system for you to use. That's where I would look at. But if you're looking at yeah, I would look at a compact car. You don't need a crossover. You're young. You can lots of time to buy a crossover. Why did BMW put the S58 engine in the X3M instead of the M3? Because I think that the M3 is at the end of its life, so there's going to be some updates on that. I think that's why it is. And the X3 was just redone. Like you got to know, you got to look at the cadence of when the models come out. So X3 came out summer of, not this summer, 20, no, what year is it? 19 of 18, okay? And then they brought out the M version of it later that year, beginning of last year, and that is a new model. So the 3 and the 4 series are now at the very end. So we have to wait to see what they're going to do with those. 2020 GLA 350, or you're asking the same questions again. Tony Tan, hey Zach, an attic insulation job would make the top floor totally cool in the summer and warm in the winter. You don't think I've thought of that, Tony Tan? I have a 100-year-old house. There is insulation in the attic. Unfortunately, our bedrooms upstairs are in dormers. So the space between the roof and the inside of the dormer is not very big and hard to get in there. So that's why. It's a 100-year-old house. Don't worry, we have insulation upstairs. Hey Zach, back in the day, did you ever drive the Audi UR Quattro, the very first one? No, I didn't, but I remember when I went to college, there was this beautiful girl named Danielle. Her boyfriend had one. He was a bit of a show-off. He used to come into the parking lot doing power slides and stuff like that. But then again, he had a Quattro, obviously plenty of money, and the prettiest girl. So who won that battle? No, didn't drive it. One of my colleagues, who is it again, from Quebec? Not Gabriel Gelina. Eric Lafrancois has one, or he had one until recently. Mike Shaw, hello again, no questions, just asking, just here for the live chats. I don't know much about cars, but I enjoy the show and I'm learning. Be safe. Well, hopefully I can pass on some information. I'm not exactly, you know, the brightest bulb on the tree, but I try, or I fake it anyway. All right, let me just go to the bottom and see if there's anything I'm missing here. Somebody's saying, I'm drinking alcohol in a video. What is the reason? I'm drinking it because I'm chilling with my pals here on the internet. That's why. You can chill at home with your drink. That's good beer. All right. I'll go back up to where I thought I was. All right. While I'm doing that, I just wanted to let you know that I'll do the pictures again. Let's do that again. If you're just tuning in now, I did it at the beginning. So we'll bring up the pictures. This is Mike Wan with his 2001 Prelude. That's his daily driver. He's been driving it daily since 2003. Great car. That was a great car. And there's a perfect example of a line of cars that Honda just frittered away. Gone. Prelude's gone. They're very practical as well. This is Wee Furry Sporin from St. Thomas, Ontario. On the left is the car that's gone. On the right is the car he just got. F-Pace, that's a bit of a jump up. And a CPO'd car, he pointed out. Dave Rivet from White Rock with his grandson and his 17 Boxster. That's a nice looking color. Howard with his trio of Golfs. We featured the Golf R on the left there a show or two ago. This is Cavi from Edmonton with an Acura TL, Acura MDX, Suzuki Boulevard, and his son's cool-looking Mercedes Cruiser and his son on his bike. So that's a nice-looking driveway. Next up, we have Stephen Clinton with his 2016 GLA 45 AMG. That car is a lot of fun to drive. That's fast, man. That's a fast little hot hatch. Then we have Morgan from Colorado with his 991 wrapped with a matte yellow. That's a beautiful car. And then we have Saeed with a 2014 C63 AMG 507 edition. That is cool. And then we had Danielle from Ramuski with his sport wagon, Highline. Hey, I just have a question for you guys. Am I doing too many of these? Are you getting tired of the Zach Man doing these live chats? Or is it just the right amount? I'd be curious, because I'm doing them 3 times a week, now off until Sunday, but if you like them, I'll keep doing them. If it's too many, I can pull it back to say 1 a week. It's up to you. Just watch your RAV4 HV review today, and it seems like the way to go. I think you mean the hybrid. With depreciation being the #1 cost, how would an HV resale value over 7 years compared to internal combustion engine of the same trim level? Hybrid vehicle, I see what you're saying. The hybrids there's a big demand for hybrids. Up until COVID, there was months and months waiting list to get one. It's only like $1,400 difference to get one over the gasoline version. It's a no-brainer. I think if you're in the market for a RAV4, the hybrid for the small premium it costs to get it, and supply and demand is everything. If there's more demand than supply, that's good for values. Okay, so there's no guarantee that demand will continue for 4 or 5 years, but Toyotas have proven to be very reliable. They've proven to be a market for hybrid vehicles used. I say, don't just buy it for resale value. It is a big component of it, but first of all, a RAV4 already has good residual value, and I think that the hybrid would be even better. You can look it up, by the way. Go to CanadianBlackBook.com and look up the projected residual value, and they have it there. So if you've ever wanted to think about buying, A car and B car, go to CanadianBlackBook.com and look at the future forecast value of the car. And that's done by the professionals that forecast for companies like Toyota. Hey, Zach, you recommended me look at a 19 GTI weeks back. I drive a Subaru. Do you think I should wait till dealership fully open to negotiate a good deal? Finance rates are still high. Well, I think that if you're not in a rush, wait. And I think that I predict that a lot of what's happening in the car industry right now is car companies are just paralyzed. We haven't really seen their moves yet because they're not really fully open. Now, some areas in the country, they are, like in British Columbia. And it's the same for the United States. Some places, everything is shut down. And then other places, they're open, but there's not really much traffic. Once we start to get an opening of the economy generally with social distancing and the protocols we're all going to have to follow. Somebody's calling me. I'll get a phone call from Penang. Let's answer this. Hello? Hello?
Hi, I was looking to speak to Andrea.
Oh, I'm sorry, she's not available.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Okay,
Sir.
bye-bye.
Bye.
That's for Andrea. What were we talking about? I think that they're paralyzed. Back to the whole thing. I don't think they've shown their hand yet. I think once the dealerships, especially in Ontario and Quebec, are allowed to be open, that's when the car companies will show their true hand as to what they're going to try and do to stimulate sales. Okay? So if you're not in a rush, don't rush. Wait. Time is on your side. Go to Car Cost Canada, sign up using the promo code MOTORMOUTH, and keep an eye on it. At the beginning of each month, so now we're into the second week, what's the date today? The first week of May. In 3 weeks' time, all of the incentives for June will start to be unveiled. And I guarantee you that we're going to see more and more incentives as the time marches on. Not doing too many live chats. You seem to like Pilsner. Have you tried a Czech beer called Pilsner Arkel? It's my favorite beer. So you're saying not doing too many live chats. Well, I appreciate that, Jorge, and thank you for the super chat. And I, of course, have had Pilsner Urquell. And you're right, Pilsner is my favorite beer. And it's very easy whenever you go to Germany, you say, I'll have a Pilsner. But I do like this. Beck's is good beer. It's great. You know, when I have people over to my house and we're drinking beer, I get these all to myself because I'm the only one that likes them. Santa Fe Turbo or 2.4, thoughts? Well, it comes down to your budget. The 2.4 is less expensive, so it really comes down to it. And I think also, off the top of my head, I'm just, please forgive me if I get this wrong, but isn't the 2.4 a CVT and the turbo is a dual clutch? That could definitely be a difference maker. Andrew Y is saying the Acura is down to 0.24%, so basically a 0.25% interest rate. We're going to see this more and more. Car companies are going to slam those interest rates down, and this is the way you want to get it. You want to get 0 to basically 2% interest is what I could consider free money. Then you're going to have massive rebates, thousands of dollars off the car, and the 0% interest. And then you ask the dealer for a deal. Because a lot of times when you see these things that are advertised, the 0% interest and the discount on the car is what the manufacturer is giving the dealer. Don't be afraid to ask the dealer for a discount too. Get a little piece out of his end. So that's the trifecta. Those are the three things you want. As close to 0% interest, get a discount, and also get the dealer to shave some of his money off as well. Hey, Zach, I have 2 great cars, but with all these supposed deals to be had in the future, it's hard not to think about getting a new car. Well, here's the thing. If you are in a position and you know you have good employment and you've got steady work, say you're a firefighter or a police officer or a nurse, I mean, goodness knows we need nurses, and you're kind of thinking maybe I could get a new car, there are going to be some great deals. And you're not going to get a better deal than we will get in the next 6 months, I don't believe. So I think that if you have the ability to pay for the car and you know your employment is good, please don't go and buy any kind of car if you're unsure about your future. That's just silly. But yeah, if you can do it, it might be worth it. Oh, okay. Rick is coming back in here about the X5 diesel that's from the U.S. So it's not bringing the diesel into the country. The vehicle is already here from the U.S. Yeah, my question is, why take a chance on a U.S. vehicle that's going to be hard for you to resell again when you can just get one that was originally sold here? I'm not sure what the upside is other than you could get a good deal on it. Please, 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 if you're considering it, get it inspected by another dealer to find out if there's any issues with the vehicle. You want to get a Carfax, you want to do all of your due diligence. I mean, they're the same cars, they're made in the same factory. It's just knowing the history of the vehicle. That's the only issue. Why do dealers over-option cars? For example, Porsche, BMW, and Benz. So when car general sales managers bring a bunch of cars into the dealership, so they'll have cars that people have ordered that they know that they want them, but they'll bring in cars that they believe that people will buy. And often they option them to have the kind of packages that people typically buy. Now, what you might not know is that those ones might have already been sold. So the only ones that are left are the highly optioned cars. So that's one thing that could be happening. Or they basically just option the car up and force you, if you want the car, well, there it is. If you want it, you got to pay for it. That could be the other thing. Don't put it past car dealers to try and get more of your money. What does a car broker do? I'm looking for a car, a normal sports car. Should I consider a car broker? Do they save you money? Well, basically, Raj, what a car broker is doing is what I'm suggesting you do, which is go to carcostcanada.com and sign up using the promo code Motormouth. They're going to find out as best they can from one of their preferred dealers if they're going to give them a deal on the car, and then they're going to flip that car to you and charge you some money to do it. Or you not aware and might not be aware that that guy that is getting you that car might be getting what's called a bird dog on the back end. So if he sells you the car, he gets an extra spiff from the dealer for getting you to buy it from him. If you're okay with doing some legwork, do it yourself. And if you don't want to go to the dealer and say, hey, this is what the cost of the car was, can we negotiate? Car Cost Canada has people that do that for you. So it's kind of like a brokerage house, and they will give you a friendly introduction to one of their dealers. So try that first. Uber and Lyft have to be hurting. Don't know if I want to ride in one of those in these times. I just was listening to CNBC, the business channel, in the car, and they were talking about Uber being down 3% in trading activity today. I didn't hear the whole story. They're obviously getting, Uber Eats is busy right now. People are ordering food. But yeah, I mean, just like rental cars, nobody's going to be using Uber and Lyft as much, and they're just not going out as much. But it will slowly come back. Your thoughts on a GT4 versus a 911S? Well, one is a much sharper car. It's a much more track-focused car. So you have to be able to live with that track-focused suspension and steering on an everyday basis. Rarer car, much more desirable in the resale market for a GT4. Hey Zach, love the show, long-time watcher. Is the economic downturn? I was looking to buy a 16 BMW 428 xDrive, but I was also looking at a 16 BMW Tier Series. Any thoughts between the two? If you do not need the space, if you do not need the larger form factor of the 4 Series, do yourself a favor and instead of getting a 428, get a 240 or a 235. That's the best car in the BMW lineup, in my opinion. So the inline 6-cylinder 2 Series, you can get it with manual and rear-wheel drive, or you can get it with the automatic or this Sportronic and also all-wheel drive. If it was me, and you don't need the larger 4 Series, get a 2 Series. But don't get the 4-cylinder, get the inline 6-cylinder. Probably going to be around the same money. Nowadays, the infotainment system with big screens is very distracting and dangerous. The screen got bright in night and dim in sunlight. Prefer the old style player. Well, you can adjust all that. I mean, you don't have to live with it being like that. You can turn it up and down. Do you think as interest rates fall, used car prices will rebound quickly? Is there such a thing as a variable rate for car loans? I'm not sure about that. I don't think there is. I don't think that we're going to see a massive correction in used car prices. First of all, there are more used cars that transact than new cars, all right? That's already the case. As people start to feel the squeeze of the economy and they have to replace their car, you have to look at a car as a bucket of miles. Once the miles have been used up in the car and the car needs to be replaced, you have to start thinking about getting a new one. If you can't, fathom the idea of getting a new car, then the used car market starts to be more attractive. I'm going to wait and see what happens. I don't think we're going to see a massive erosion of used car prices. I think they're probably going to stay fairly flat. They might go down a little bit initially, but I think that it's too early to tell. And if anybody tells you they know what's going to happen, they don't, because we have to see once the economy starts to open up just how willing people are to spend. We might now become a society of hoarders, saving money, not spending money, keeping our pennies close to our chest. So all of that has to be factored in. Have you kept up with Dagmar from the old driving TV days? Didn't she move to California? Yes, she did. Dagmar is the 6 o'clock weather anchor in, I think, the NBC station in San Diego. Is that the easiest job ever? Sunny and 70 degrees. See you tomorrow, Steve. Okay, thanks, Dagmar. My ride is an '05 Acura TSX. Best car ever. No problems. 192,000 kilometers. Great car. The European Accord. Wonderful car. The only issue with the TSX is noisy on the highway. I'm not sure if you've noticed that. Maybe I have to speak up. Just bought a new GLE 450 a few weeks ago. I love it. Good for you. Do you think the GLE 450 will be reliable in the long run? Just bought it and would like to keep it at least 10 years. Do you think it'll be worth it? We don't know. This is an all-new car. All new. It's got new engines. It's got new suspension, new everything. So we have to wait and see. What you should do is keep the car under warranty, of course, as long as you possibly can. As the vehicle comes towards the end of its 4-year warranty, you might want to consider buying an extended warranty. And then when you get it out to 6-7 years, you'll have an idea if the car is being great, trouble-free, or a pain in the ass. So just consider that, first of all, the vehicle has a new engine. It's got new suspension, all new first year for this car. So is it going to be bulletproof? We'll have to wait and see. Hey, Zach, do you think the BMW 3 Series wagon has been discontinued in Canada? It doesn't seem to be listed on the BMW website anymore. Or is it just in the midst of redesign that the sedan got? I don't know about that, to be honest with you. I think probably, yeah, we're just waiting for the new one to come, because the 3 Series just came out, so we have to wait for all those new models to come. And it would be a real shame if they got rid of it, because it's such a good car. Do you think there's a quality difference between the Mazda 3 built in Mexico rather than Japan? I don't really believe so. I think that you know, the plants are made to the same specifications, whether they're here in Japan, Mexico, or Mars. I mean, the engineering that goes into making the cars in the factory is the same. The only difference you would have are two parts: the human interface with the car, and that's only the final assembly. The vast majority of a car being made today is automated. At the very end, they start putting some of the stuff together, sub-assemblies come together, but most of that is still automated. So you have a different labor situation, Mexicans versus Japanese citizens, of course. And then you have the part suppliers themselves. So in Japan, they're Japanese part suppliers. In Mexico, they would be US and Mexican part suppliers. But same thing again, they are building to the same specifications. Then you have the added advantage of, from what I understand, the Mexico plant was also upgraded with Toyota, because they do collaboration down there. So Toyota has some influence. Put it this way, if it was me buying a car, I wouldn't even think about it. It's just like, I could care less. And here's the thing is, you start looking at some of the most popular vehicles that are sold in North America from import brands, most of them are made in North America, not made in Germany or made in Japan. They're made here, and people don't seem to complain. This is Sheva. Hey, from Van City, big fan of your show. 16 Land Rover LR4 versus 1719 Toyota 4Runner. Any thoughts? Well, this is an easy one. I would get the 4Runner. You know, a 16 Land Rover is 4 years old. Yeah, it's an LR4, it's the last of the body on frame. Both of these are horrible on gas, just so you know. They both love to suck fuel. I'm not sure which engine you're referring to with the Land Rover. They had the 6-cylinder and the V8. But if it was me and my money and I was going to buy it and drive it for a while, it would be the Toyota 4Runner. First of all, bulletproof. Second of all, amazing resale value. I mean, you put one of those things up for sale, there's usually a lineup of guys who want it. So I would suggest that you try them both out, but the smart money is on the Toyota 4Runner. All right, we've got 154 people on just now. We need more likes. Smash the like button. I'm gonna go to the bottom here and see where we see what's going on. My M2 lease is almost done. Macan GTS or wait for the new M3? Well, these are apples and oranges. One is a low-slung sporty car and the other one is an SUV. Now, I will say the Macan GTS is as close as you're going to get to a car with being a utility vehicle. But it's just something you have to decide that in your own body. Do you want to have a little car, or do you want to have a little utility vehicle? Oh, here's a good question. Does Honda recent oil dilution problem apply to the 2.4 liter GDI in the 5th generation CRV? No, it's only the 1.5 liter. It's interesting. I am on the computer editing the video that's going to go out on Saturday morning. It's a Honda CRV, and I talk about the oil dilution issue. There's even some animation that Honda's put out. So keep watching that. No, the old 2.4, if I was buying a used Honda CRV, I would look for a 2012, when I believe they had the 2.4 liter, but they went to the 6-speed automatic. And find out what years they had that. I think it was 16, 17, right around there, just a few years. That's the one I would look for. Longtime watcher, what are your thoughts on the Mazda CX-30 in terms of quality and performance? How does it compare to the CX-5? It's just smaller. They're basically running on the same platform. It's their Skyactiv platform, and all they do is make one shorter and one longer, and that's basically what you're doing. You're sharing engines, all those sorts of things. So when you look at one, you're looking at the other. The big difference is the CX-30 has torsion beam rear suspension, where the CX-5 has independent rear suspension. It comes down to your budget, comes down to how much space you need. I'm a big fan of the CX-5 though, especially if you can afford the turbo. All right. Let's go back up where I was. All right, so I'm going to these ones. People are saying, no, they want more. I'm asking the question again, so I'm catching up to the question I asked earlier. Do you want to see as many of these live shows as I'm doing now? They want to see more. I like them. 3 will do. That's good. That's what I'm doing now. I like them a lot. But it's your decision. No, man, I look forward to these. Thank you. I think a lot of people are stuck in the house, which is good for me. Keep doing them at least until you are able to get back to normal business. Keep them coming. Keep going. Keep them coming. All right, I guess we'll keep the current format. I would watch one a day. Please, do you PS 2020 911, did you review yet? Oh yeah, the 911 review is up on the channel. We got a chance to drive it in Valencia, Spain last year, so it is on the channel. Looks the best since the 993. I totally agree with you, Single Malt. I totally agree with you. Absolutely. Just let me have a look here. Trying to catch up where I was. All right, I think I'm getting there. Hey, I leased an X1. I've leased a BMW X1 xDrive 28i 2018 model. I love the car, but the only issue I'm facing right now is fuel economy. So I went through some of your videos and I'm interested on hybrids now. Well, that's good. I think that if fuel, and it's premium gas in a car like that, you know, it's a big issue. The only issue I would have for you is you've got a 2018 model car, is that buying a new car to save money on gas can be too expensive. So by the time you've taken on the depreciation, you've bought a new car with tax and all the other things that you have to consider, sometimes the cost to get out of one car and into another car, it's a lot of money you could be spending on gas. So please run the numbers on that. I'm not sure if you're leasing it or not, or what your deal is, but one of my sayings is buying a new car is an expensive way to save money at the pumps. Just think about that. You're asking again, should I go for a RAV4 hybrid, Corolla hybrid, or wait for Elantra hybrid, which is coming in 2021? The Elantra hybrid certainly looks interesting. I'm not sure about the design of the car. If you like it, then you might want to wait. And like all things, time is on your side. As we are moving through this time of, whatever we're in the middle of, if you can wait it out, then you can wait until the new Elantra comes for 2021, but there'll also be 2021 Corolla hybrid and RAV4 hybrid. So maybe you should wait until the 2021 model and decide at that point. Did you ever drive a 78 Toyota Cressida? I had one in the mid 80s and really miss it. Oh yeah, that's a fantastic car. There was a guy near here who had a Cressida wagon, and it had, I believe it was 3 wipers on the back. It was so cool. On the back window was pretty much flat across the back, and it had, what was it, 2 or 3 wipers? I don't know. It was such a cool looking car. But the Cressida is the inline 6-cylinder engine, which from what I understand was the same engine they used in Supra, or was based on that engine. Why is the MX-5 Miata so expensive? Almost 50,000 Canadian for a fully loaded one. I agree with you. Biggest knock against that car is they're asking the moon for it. I wouldn't buy a new one, I'd buy a used one. There's loads of them out there. In your price point, pick a number, 25,000. You can shop for Miatas at 25,000 all day long. They're out there. So that's what I would do. Hearing Forerunner is to be refreshed for 2022. I had the extreme reliable 4-liter V6 engine since ages. What do you predict it will do for an engine? Are you going to go more fuel efficient? Yeah, they're going to go more fuel efficient. That's Toyota's whole mantra, right? Bringing in hybrid technology, plug-ins, and all that sort of stuff. What I would probably guess is going to be the 3.5-liter engine that they have in Tacoma. So probably have the D4S technology, can run on regular cycle, Atkinson cycle, port injection, and direct injection. That's what that technology is. That's probably a pretty good guess. Okay. I believe Honda makes some of the best non-luxury cars, but they better turn around their sliding reliability or they can turn into the next Nissan before they know it. Well, that is an issue. I mean, the fact that you're bringing that up in a public forum for other people to watch says something, right? Why don't manufacturers bring pop-up headlights? I'm not sure they would be allowed now because there are so many regulations. I don't know this is absolute answer, but what has evolved in terms of crash worthiness for cars? So you know when one car hits another, the whole front is supposed to collapse and absorb the energy of the impact to keep the people inside. So the front of the car, the whole front of the car is to collapse in order to protect the occupants inside the car. Okay, now what we have, that's been going on for a long time. Now what we have is we have pedestrian crumple zones. So if someone was to get hit by a car and they were hit, they are to collapse onto the roof, the hood of the car, I should say, and that space between the hood and the engine has to be a certain height, and that's to give way. Okay, that's to prevent a serious injury for the pedestrian. And then at the front bottom of the chin spoiler for cars, you'll often see the chin spoiler is on an angle like this, and they're all at a similar angle. That's all done to push the ankles and the feet of the people away from going underneath the car and to push them to the side of the car. So there's all of this engineering that goes on to making the vehicle absorb an impact, not just for the people in the car, but if you were to hit a pedestrian. For example, the headlamps are meant to snap off all their little attachments on the inside. They're designed to just basically disintegrate. So if you were to hit a pedestrian, it just all crumples away. So that's to absorb the impact. So my guess is, and I know the answer to this, I'm just going through what I know about the engineering for the whole front of the car as it stands today. I don't think pop-up headlights would be allowed. But it's certainly a trend that if they could, what I would like to see are naked round headlights in the front. You remember cars from the 70s used to have round headlamps on the inside, but they didn't have anything over them? I would love it if car manufacturers would go back to doing that again. Like I had an M6, a BMW M6, and it had like the shark nose and the grill went down like that, and then you had the 4 headlamps in there. Man, that looked good. But maybe it's the same thing. Could be because of that. All right, let's see what's going on. We're going to go down to the bottom now. We're coming up to an hour, so I'll see how it's going. My '08 Malibu has 194 kilometers and starting to show its age. I just need a big trunk. Would a new Elantra do or look at used market? I drive 10 to 15,000 kilometers a year. Well, it comes down to, you know, how much space you need. There's lots of vehicles with big trunks. And so it's quite easy just to go to the dealer and open the trunk and say, is that big enough? Zach, with your comprehensive knowledge of Porsche's legacy starting a series, be radical, transparent on all good, bad, and ugly. It would be radical, improve the total views of this great channel. Well, Jason, I would love to do that. It's that I'm so busy doing other things. I have a friend of mine who's my mechanic who has access to a lot of these older cars. I'm not sure if you want to go through each individual one, but there's so many variations. There's so many books written on Porsche, so there's lots of information out there. Not sure what I can add more than that. But yeah, that might be something to consider. All right, I am going to shut it down now because it has been an hour. Hey, well, quickly before we go, we'll do the pictures again. Here's Mike Wan with his 2001 Prelude. Furry Wee Sporin with his new white Jaguar on the right. Then you have Dave Rivet from White Rock with his Boxster and his grandson. Howard with his trio of Golfs. There's Cavi with his collection of cars and toys for himself and for his son. We have Steve Clinton from Vancouver with his GLA AMG. Morgan from Colorado with his 991 wrapped in matte yellow. Saeed from, I don't know where you actually are, but there you go. That's a C63 AMG. And last is Daniel from Rimouski, Quebec, with his Highline Golf Sport Wagon. All right, thanks to everybody. I will check in with you on Sunday at the same time, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We'll talk then. Have a great night. And if you want to get a picture in, send it to Zach at motormouth.ca. Take care.